The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, Lord.
Jesus said to the Jews, "If I testify on my own behalf, my testimony is not true. But there is another who testifies on my own behalf, and I know that the testimony he gives on my behalf is true. You sent emissaries to John, and he testified to the truth. I do not accept human testimony, but I said this so that you may be saved. He was a burning and shining lamp, and for a while you were content to rejoice in his light. But I have testimony greater than John's. The works that my Father gave me to do, these works that I perform, testify on my behalf that the Father has sent me. Moreover, the Father who sent me has testified on my behalf. You have never heard his voice nor seen his form, and you do not have his voice remaining in you, because you do not believe in the one whom he sent. You search the Scriptures, because you think you have eternal life through them. Even they testify on my behalf. But you do not want to come to me to have life. I do not accept human praise. Moreover, I know that you do not have the love of God in you. I came in the name of my Father, but you do not accept me. Yet if another comes in his own name, you will accept him. How can you believe when you accept praise from one another and do not seek the praise that comes from the only God? Do not think that I will accuse you before the Father. The one who will accuse you is Moses, in whom you have placed your trust. If you had believed Moses, you would have believed me, because he wrote about me. If you do not believe his writings, how will you believe my words?" The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Who says what to whom, when, and why? Well, in the Gospel today, Jesus is speaking to his accusers who have persecuted him because he worked on the Sabbath and they claim he is making himself equal to God. That's the occasion here. And what does he tell them? He says, in a good trial, you need witnesses. Nobody has first-hand proof. No fingerprints, none of the kind of stuff that our forensic experts use. They required testimony, and not from anybody. The more elevated the status of the person who testified on your behalf, the better off your chances are of proving your case to the judge. Jesus has 4 witnesses. John the Baptizer, whom they actually accepted at one time as a witness. He has the works that the Father gave him to do. As the blind man said on Sunday, if this man did not come from God, he could do nothing. Third, we have the Father himself who sent him. And finally, we have Moses testifying about him in the Scriptures. Now, like most biblical trials, this one gets turned upside down because Jesus is now accusing them. I know that you do not have the love of God in you because you don't do what the Father asks of you to believe in me. So it will be Moses who will then accuse the people of Israel. This continues, of course, through chapter 5 and 7 and 9 and 11. This is the pattern of what we have in Lent, in the Gospel, and it is also the pattern we have. Now, who says what to us? Well, the church is telling us, pay attention to the build-up in the scriptures whereby we will find the trial of Jesus beginning to take place. And notice from the very beginning, it is unjust, it is unfair, and Jesus will be, unfortunately, the victim. We are told in Lent, because that's what this is all about, that we are the ones whom Moses will accuse because our hearts are not totally open to the word of his Son. And why are we told this? So that we may enter into the Paschal mystery. Because the whole point of this trial, ultimately, is the vindication of Jesus by God. And that will mean when we cross over the cross to the empty tomb.